Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Five on Friday, which I haven't done for a couple of weeks, probably for obvious reasons. I have been at home, like all of us have, with my children, which is just going really well. I'm really loving this time with my children. We're doing lots of really meaningful activities together, and we're just really loving and leaning into each other. That's a lie. Oh, that is so a lie. Anyway, some of you I know some of you just saw my Instagram stories where I took a series of ridiculous photos of me in this dress because my teaching partner, who is known online as Tinkering Child, and I hashtag her best teaching partner ever, except that sometimes, Jackie Child, you are not the best teaching partner ever because you're so rude to me. Good thing I'm rude back. But she, whenever I wear this dress to school, she always says, oh, look, it's a banana in pajamas. And then other times I've got another dress which is black and white stripes, and she tells me when I wear that dress that I look like a barcode and that it's an excellent dress for a librarian to wear. So, thanks, Jackie. So yes, I wore this dress especially for you, Jackie. Actually, I didn't. I've had this dress on all day and I haven't showered, and clearly I haven't brushed my hair. Lots of people comment on how nice my fringe always looks in these videos. It doesn't really look that nice today. Yeah, thanks, Mel. Nice side bun. That's I don't know what even to call that. It's not, I don't know if I'd call it a bun, Mel. That's fairly kind of you. It's a bunched up piece of hair. Is that a bun? Anyway, so I am really enjoying talking to people because, hello, I have not been talking to a lot of people. How is isolation going for all of you? Are you reading a lot? I am not, if I'm honest. I have been so stressed out and so, I was going to say anxious, but not really anxious. I've just been discombobulated. My whole head is just spinning, and I am trying to manage working and blogging, but I haven't done any of that, and parenting, and it's just been, you love the fringe, Tanya. That's really kind, Tanya, because it's just sort of, I don't know, this is about 4-day-old hair. I just haven't been able to concentrate on reading. I can't. I've been trying so hard to read, and I just can't concentrate. And in fact, the last time that I felt like I absolutely couldn't read a book was after Dan died, and I didn't read a whole book for nearly a year after Dan died. I literally couldn't concentrate on a book. But I have been forcing myself this week to read, and me doing Five on Friday and putting it up earlier in the week that I was going to do it was good impetus to kind of get over the line and just force myself to read. I've got a chapter in my book on mindful reading, which I do a lot of with children. I sort of do a meditation with children before we sit down to do reading in the library sometimes. And that's something that I think we as adults could implement a bit as well. I accidentally purchased the Calm app some time ago. Didn't mean to actually pay the subscription for it, but did. So figured I should use it. But I do find if I can just empty my brain and do one of their 5-minute meditations, I'm then in a much better place to read and do some deep reading. I had something else to say. See, brain all over the shop. Nah, it's gone. It'll come back to me. I will talk about my 5 favourite books this week. So, first up, this book arrived for me at exactly the right time. Scribbly Gum Secrets is a new book from Ford Street Publishing, who are a small publishing house who I love very much. And it is written by Danica Paterson and is illustrated by Megan Ford. Now, I really love Megan Ford's illustrations, so I was super excited to see this one come in the mail for review. And I literally just laughed and laughed when I read it. One of the things, basically it is a story about a mum who is trying to get her 4 children to go for a walk in the bushland near their home. Now, that has pretty much been my battle since forever, and particularly since we've been in lockdown and we have been going for walks because I'm trying to make my children burn off some energy. I have been, and we've got incredible bushland right behind our house. With snakes, but beautiful all the same, despite the snakes. And I've been bribing my children. I've been doing all of the things. And the mum in this book, look, I just really understood her pain. She can't get her children to go for a walk with her. And I, in fact, read this to Pudstar and Chickpea a couple of weeks ago when it arrived. And Pudstar just looked at me with that withering look that only a 12-year-old can give you. And she was just like, I'm way too old for you to read me a picture book and think that I don't understand that you're not trying to give me a subtle but not at all subtle message. I was like, mate, I'm not even bothering trying to give you a subtle message. I'm reading you this book because it says everything I want to say to you and I can't say to you. We are going on a bushwalk. Anyway, they do it. Danica Paterson does it much more nicely than that. It's a gorgeous story, and the illustrations are just sublime. I really love Megan Ford's illustrations. The watercolors are gorgeous, and I love that the scenes of family are a family that looks, their house looks just like mine. It's a bit of a mess. Mum's not wearing her best clothes. Bananas and pajamas dress. And it's, I don't know, it feels like something I can relate to. So I love her illustrations. This is family time and it's my turn to choose. You'll have fun once we get there. Now put on your shoes. I'm forever saying that. You'll have fun when we get there, okay? Just everybody put their shoes on. We're going to have fun. She manages to get her 4 children out for a bushwalk, and they're walking along their neighbourhood and they're walking to the bush. And I love this. I love an aerial neighbourhood scene. Peter Carnivus has got a great one in his book, A Quiet Girl, and I'm a big fan of an aerial neighbourhood scene. And they're looking at the tree trunks in the bushland near their home. I also love that there's lots to discuss in the illustrations, like the little vegetable gardens and all sorts of things. The sense of community is lovely in the story. Mum's already 10 paces ahead of them. That's also me, mainly because I'm trying to escape my children. Oh, it's been a long week. And they find lots of really interesting things. They find these itchy grubs who are leaving a gooey trail. Who wrote on these trees? Charlie asked them again, but nobody heard him. Nobody explained. This is my favourite page because I love that they have made you turn the book. I think there's nothing better than a bit of interactivity in a book, and I like it when authors and illustrators these days and publishers are, making you change the way you look at a book. Look at those fruit bats. They all would have missed it, but Cooper looked up and he cried, "Flying foxes. Now, look, there's a new pup. Asleep in the canopy, all upside down. They'd worked all night long, spreading seeds through the town." Anyway, the book goes on to talk about various parts of the local bushland. There's some species named, and they do find out about the scribbly gum trees. It is such a lovely picture book, and I think it's a really nice one for the times that we're in at the moment, because we are all going walking a bit more. We're all really, as I said, leaning into and loving our children. Not me. Anyway, I have also been leaning into and loving my children by reading a family book together each night. That's also not going that well. Anyway, I chose one that I thought my 8-year-old and my 12-year-old will both really enjoy, and we have actually all really enjoyed this book. It's called What Stars Are Made Of by Sarah Allen. All you need to change your world is you. It is about a beautiful young girl called Libby, and Libby has got something called, now I'm going to forget what it is. I think it's called Turner's syndrome. She is a beautiful young girl, and she has this gorgeous older sister, much older sister, who she really, really adores and looks up to. And Libby has this Turner syndrome, and she finds life a bit of a challenge. And she goes on, she's really obsessed with science and all things STEM, and she wants to win a STEM competition to help her older sister. I don't want to give too much away, but the reason I chose this book is the girls and I have previously read together Wonder, which we loved. We've read My Life as an Alphabet, which is now called H is for Happiness, to tie in with the movie. And we've also read Everything I've Never Said, which is by one of my all-time favourite authors, Samantha Wheeler. And I knew when I read about this book, What Stars Are Made Of, about a young girl with Turner syndrome and her, just living within her reality, I knew my girls would really like it. It's about resilience. It's about family. It's very heartwarming. There's a lot of stuff in there about STEM and science. It's a really good one for I would say middle to upper primary readers. So I have one in grade 3 and I have one in grade 7. And look, it's probably a stretch for the grade 3 child, but she's really, really loved it as a read aloud. I talked about this on Instagram earlier in the week. My year 3 child could absolutely read the words in this book, but I think if I gave this to her as an independent read, it would be no good for her. She wouldn't really connect with it because it did need some explaining. There's no point in reading a book until your child's ready for it. Speaking of all things family, this next book is absolutely not one I'm going to be reading to my children as a fun read aloud, but this is the book that cracked my inability to read an entire book during this whole COVID crisis. It's called How to Grow a Family Tree by Eliza Henry Jones. And it is a young adult novel, and it is exquisite. I loved it. I so deeply loved this book. There's a beautiful book by Pip Harry young adult book, that I just adored last year or the year before, and I haven't loved anything as a character as much since Pip Harry's Tiny character. Well, I absolutely love Stella. Stella is my new favourite YA character. Stella is 17. She is in year 12. We find out very early on that Stella was adopted at birth, and Stella and her family live in a house, but in the first chapter we find out that Stella's dad has got a gambling addiction and he has lost a lot of money, so much money in fact that they need to sell their family home, and they are moving into the aptly named Fairyland Caravan Park. Stella is beside herself about this. She's going into grade 12, sorry, she's not in grade 12 yet. Stella is beside herself about this. She doesn't want to tell her friends. She certainly doesn't want to move into a caravan park. She loves reading. She can't take all of her books, which is devastating for her. And of course, then there's that whole other issue of my dad's gambling and I'm not enough to make him stop. My family aren't enough to make him stop. She knows that her dad loves her mum and her sister, and she just kind of keeps thinking, so why can't he stop? Why aren't we enough to make him stop? It's just exquisite. I even feel teary now talking about it. It's got so many beautiful sections in it where she talks so insightfully, but appropriately for a teenager, about addiction and living with a father who has an addiction, and trying to wrap her head around that and the implications that have for all of them. It is just beautiful. I have notes. The themes are, I can't read my own writing. It's beautiful. It's got themes of sisterhood, adoption, which I've talked about. It's very real. It's about resilience. It's about first love. And I wrote at the bottom, it's warm and quirky and lovely. And it really, really is. It sounds heavy, and parts of it absolutely are heavy. It's a heavy read. The themes are heavy. But oh my glory. Quirky, funny, lovely. Oh, I just was like, I love it when I find a book that I just go, yep, this is just everything I want in a book for whatever age group it is that I'm reading for. I've got a little tag there. I've got lots of tags in it about library. Stella really loves the library, and she talks about staying in the library after school, partly to avoid going home sometimes. And in this book here, the ones that I just talked about, Libby also loves the library. And in this one here, Libby talks about the library as her friend. And one day she says to a teacher how the library is her friend. And then she reflects on that and goes, am I allowed to say that? Is the library actually my friend? So I just thought it was really nice that both of these books referenced libraries. And I often think probably authors want to include that little acknowledgement to libraries in their books, because for a lot of us, libraries were our safe place at school and continue to be our safe place at school for many students. And I don't know, they're wonderful places to exist in. All right. So gosh, if you've got a young adult child, please, or if you like reading young adult books, please read How to Grow a Family Tree, Eliza Henry Jones. It is exquisite. And also look at that cover. I mean, hello. All right. Now, most of you will know this book, but these next two books that I'm going to talk about are for the adults, and you have to buy them. There's just no two ways about it. I want you to click on those links, and I just want you to add to cart, and I want you to not think about them, and I just want you to buy them. These are like the books that I'm recommending to everybody to read during COVID-19. This one here, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. Most of you will have seen this by now because he's all over Instagram at the moment, and the NHS in the UK have been using some of his artwork as I think the screensavers on all of their computers. I have followed him on Instagram for many years, and I was so excited and pre-ordered this book when it was released earlier in the year. I've now bought, I think I'm up to 7 copies of this book that I've purchased for people. I've purchased this for all the widows and widowers in my life. I've purchased this for family. I've purchased this for as gifts. I'm giving a copy of it. I've got a copy wrapped up over there in very nice paper, if I do say so myself, for my sister-in-law. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Amy. It is exquisite. So if any of you have known me since childhood, you will know that I love Winnie the Pooh. Dad always said that I was more Eeyore than Winnie the Pooh because I'm a little bit negative, apparently. I like to look at the glass half empty, not really the glass half full. And I loved the wisdom of Winnie the Pooh growing up, and I have a lot of Winnie the Pooh books. I've got some first editions. I've collected Winnie the Pooh artwork my whole life. I love Winnie the Pooh. Well, I feel like Charlie Mackesy is Winnie the Pooh for this generation. It is exquisite. The artwork is sublime, and he's really worth following on Instagram. I've just pulled out a few pages to show you. I think everyone is just trying to get home, said the mole. It's just these tiny little snippets of wisdom from the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. Tears fall for a reason, and they are your strength, not your weakness, says the horse. What is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse. I love that one. I really want that one framed on my wall, except probably his artwork's probably worth a fortune now, and I'm not going to get that. But I'll buy a print. I'll buy a print of it. That's what I'll buy. I just love it. There's just so much to love about this book. The end papers are beautiful. It's a beautiful book just to have on your kitchen table, which is where this copy sits. And I just read it every morning, and I've read it like 4 or 5 times now from front to back. I just love it. And then, oh my gosh, and again, most of you have probably, I think somebody just walked onto my front deck. Oh, that would be my children. No, you can't come in. I'm talking to people that are more interesting than you. I may have locked them outside while I was on the video. I'll have to be quick. Most of you have probably heard about this book this week. Can you see my children? Is that annoying you? 5. Just give me 5. Seriously, just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Phosphorescence by Julia Bard. Now, I adore Julia Bard. She is the host of The Drum on ABC, and I have kind of followed her story for a long time. She has had cancer. She had a terrible relationship breakdown. She's written a lot about women in the media before. She is openly Christian and talks a lot about theology. And I just really like her. I think she's an amazing person. So I was so excited about this book coming out. And then I listened to the Richard Fidler interview with her last week or the week before. I think my mum told me to listen to it. And then my mum bought me this book for Easter, along with some Lindt pistachio balls, which were excellent. I just noticed my Easter egg earrings are not quite. There we go. It is just exquisite. It's on All Wonder and the Things That Sustain You When the World Goes Dark. It's just come out, and again, incredibly timely. And like the last book, this one's got exquisite end papers. That is a very dangerous octopusy, no, that's not an octopus. I can't remember what it is. And gorgeous on this end paper as well. And I'm going to open up the whole book. Just look at that cover. It's about light that exists in the dark, and the book itself, I don't know if you can see it shimmering, is just gorgeous. So it's about her story. It's her story of recovery from grief for a relationship breakdown and recovery from cancer and a number of things that have happened in her life. And she talks about that idea that there's always light to be found in the dark. she swims with the Manly Swimmers every morning, and they swim in the cold, very cold ocean. And she has been chasing this phosphorescent kind of light that is sometimes found in the ocean for a long time, and in fact has seen it. It's just the most you can probably even tell from the way my voice has calmed down since I've been talking about this book. I just feel calm when I read this. I've finished the book this week, but I've gone back and I've highlighted a few sections in it, and I'm going to, I think, go back and read parts of it again. It also reminds me a little bit of the sales book, Any Ordinary Day, which I really, really enjoyed reading after Dan passed away. It's like the Lee Sales book, Any Ordinary Day. This book is incredibly well researched. There's lots of research in here about phosphorescence in nature. There's a lot of anecdotes from philosophers and from, I was going to say intelligent people. I've lost the ability to speak. It's just such a beautiful book. Parts of it are just, sentences in it are just, you know, I pulled out a few quotes to put on Instagram this week, and I could pull out 100 quotes. There's just so many beautiful lines in this book about finding the light in the dark times and just living with hope, I guess, and finding awe. And she really talks a lot about connecting with nature and that idea I think it's in Japan, people bathe in the forest, and, you know, they walk through the forest, and they're told to really experience the forest deeply. And she talks a lot in here about connecting with nature, which I guess goes back to that Scribbly Gum Secret Picture book I talked about right at the beginning. Right from a young age, we really need to have our children connecting with nature, but we need to connect with nature as well. And I think it's something that we don't do enough of as adults. Again, I like that she's done a lot of research. The librarian in me feels really happy about the end notes where she has got all of her references. So you can see how incredibly extensively researched this book is. And I just loved everything about it. It's very personal, but it's also incredibly academic's not the right word, but it's definitely a non-fiction, self-helpy type book, I guess, but doesn't feel like a self-help book at all. It's beautiful. And it's just really, it feels really nourishing. It's a really sustaining and nourishing book. I just looked down at the table, and like, I know I have pink hair, but I think one of my children has been trying to dye their hair with a highlighter. There's actually some cut hair, and then there's, I mean, I don't even know what's going on, but I am going to have to unlock my front door and let my children back into the house because, yes, I locked them outside while I spoke to all of you, and I don't really want to stop talking because this has been the most fun I've had all week. Anyway, back to school next week. That will also be fun. You don't get me started. Have a great weekend, and please, 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 adults that are watching, please go and buy Phosphorescence and The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. It is exquisite. Young adult readers need this one. Middle grade or upper primary, middle grade readers need this one. And you really need to get this one to read to your kids and make them go for a walk. It's, yeah, well and truly worth it. All right, I'm totes going to unlock the front door now. I am such a bad parent. Please don't call child services.